Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talking Sports with Ronnie and Johnny here at Drake at Access TV. Alongside of my co-host, Johnny Dakota, I'm Ronnie Perrin. Johnny, how you doing today, my friend?
Well, before we get going, Ronnie,
Okay.
We'd be remiss if we didn't
Mention
Drake at Access TV signing us to a 7-year, $217 million contract,
Which
coincidentally is the same amount of money that the Boston Red Sox
signed David Price. The only difference is they're probably going to get more value from us than the Red Sox got from David Price this year.
Show me the deer in the headlight look.
The David Price look? Yeah, the new David
Third
Price
inning
look.
of the second game.
Yeah.
Big deep breath.
Well, you know, Johnny, here's the thing about David Price with me, okay? And we're gonna kind of go over. We're gonna dive right into the Red Sox season. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was back in April when we first touted the Red Sox and we thought was going to happen with the Red Sox. One of the things that I said was the fact that they had been in last place the last 2 years prior to that. I thought with Price coming over, it was going to at least give this team the ability to win between 85 and 88 games, which in hindsight now wasn't too far off. But what ended up happening with this team was very simple. Too much puppy love.
Yeah, no
Not
question.
puppy love.
Well, I mean,
Puppy
let's go
love.
back to what you were just saying. Yeah, all right, they go from first to last to last to first, and people saying, "Wow, they won the AL East." Look at that payroll. Are you kidding me? Yeah. They should be there every year.
Yeah, you're right.
And you just brought up the great point. Farrell lost the AL East series. Plain and simple. The big David Ortiz show was all year. He knew he had to manage that. It was going to be all over the place. You know what? They got in from win the AL East the wrong way. They lose on a 3-run homer. Kimbrel gives up, and they get in because.
Well, you know what's funny is because if you looked at the reaction of the Red Sox to when that happened in the dugout, there was no happiness involved with that.
No.
You know, they knew at that point in time that, yeah, okay, we made the playoffs, but they weren't happy about that. They weren't happy about the way that happened.
But your job as a manager, Ronnie, is all right, you're at that point. Now
Right.
you got to guide that team and make sure they're ready to go. You know what? You're giving days off. I understand it. You know what? But those guys should have been primed and ready to go. You know what? Then you go to the other side of the coin, and you look at the Cleveland Indians. They got a manager. I wish we can get a guy like that, Tito Francona.
Well,
I wish we could get a manager like that.
We can't get guys like that.
We can't.
No.
So, what does he do? They lose one game in the postseason so far, and they just eliminated the Blue Jays, and they're off to the World Series.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that was telling to me was, if you looked at the way that John Farrell managed the Red Sox during that series, it was almost like he was trying to copy the man on the opposite side of him.
Exactly.
Okay? But unfortunately for Farrell, he didn't have a Miller that he could use when it was necessary to use.
I wish we can get guys like that.
Yeah, we just can't get guys like that, Johnny. You know how it is. We can't get guys like Miller.
Unbelievable.
Only letting him go for, you know, whatever it was, the small amount of money that the Red Sox really could have kept him. But my point is, what Farrell tried to do was copy what was happening on the other side with Tito, and the problem was, why Pomerantz? Because I don't understand that. Because he had Robbie Ross, okay, number one, who really wasn't that bad a pitcher, okay.
He fell in love with. He fell in love with Pomerantz.
My problem was that it was right before the season ended. It was when Pomerantz became a reliever. They knew that he wasn't going to be used because he got hurt a little bit. Plus, they were trying to manage his innings. That was the big thing. Let's manage his innings. So what happens is they decide, okay, the best thing for him is, because we're not going to start him, they decided that Clay Buchholz was going to be the third starter, and obviously thinking that both Price and Porcello were going to just breeze through their first two games, and it really wouldn't matter the third game as much because they'd be back at home, and that would help them out. Unfortunately, we know that didn't work out. But the problem was now you had a guy like Drew Pomerantz who wasn't A, healthy, and B, is not an Andrew Miller. You can't use him the same way. No, so it just goes to show you the differences between a guy like John Farrell and Tito Francona. So with that said, Johnny,
you know what?
Yes.
Before you get into the next subject here, though, a guy that you don't talk about, and he wasn't with us, I think, maybe only for the first 2 weeks of the series of the year. The name is Carson Smith.
Absolutely.
That was your seventh inning guy.
Right.
That was your sixth.
Could have been your eighth inning guy too. Could have been.
That guy is key. Now, he just had Tommy John surgery. They think he's going to come back. But we didn't have that guy all year.
Right.
There wasn't that guy.
Pretty much. He
You know?
was right. Exactly.
You know, 5 through 7, nobody was there.
But he tried to, he tried to mix and match a little bit, and he did kind of get himself an 8th inning guy. Okay, he had an 8th inning guy in Brad Ziegler. Okay,
yeah.
But for some reason, he wasn't comfortable with Ziegler in the 8th inning role, because if that were the case, why was he pitching in the 6th and 7th inning in some of these games towards the end? It didn't make any sense to me. So with that said, and we're going to kind of move on a little bit here, but I do want to do what we usually do, and that's the season-ending grades, okay, that we would give for the So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the list of all of the Red Sox by position. You tell me what you think, okay, a grade would be, and I'll give you what my grade is, okay? Let's start at first base with Hanley Ramirez, okay? What type of grade would you give Hanley overall in the scheme of things this year?
All in all, I mean, from the second half of the season, he just turned on the Jets.
Sure.
I mean, and he powered his.
And let's not count the playoffs, because you know what, the playoffs.
But he won games single-handedly
Sure
at the end of the season,
Yeah.
and his bat came on, and you really can't say anything bad about his defensive effort. It was there, no big errors. I don't remember anything that was crucial.
I'm not on board with that. I don't think he was all that good at first base.
Well,
defensively. I don't think he really was.
I don't think he was tested as much as
people
think.
And if you looked at some of the pundits, Johnny, they would talk about how well that Hanley was playing. But if you really look at the way he played, he cost some of his players plays. They didn't give him the error scooping.
Right.
Scooping balls he was awful with.
Right.
But with that said, even overall, I gave Hanley Ramirez a B+.
I think that's a fair grade.
Okay?
Listen,
I think,
when they first got him,
yeah,
it was never about defense.
No.
It was all about this year's stats is what they signed him for.
Well, again, next year going forward, they're obviously going to have to fill the big shoes of David Ortiz. And they've already hinted, even as of last year, they hinted that when Ortiz was going to leave, Ramirez was going to step into the DH role. Mm-hmm. So which means that they either have to really go out and concentrate on a first baseman, a guy like maybe, my wish list, Edwin Encarnacion. I would love to have him.
Well, I think you're looking at a platoon DH there.
You might. And first base, and you could throw Shaw in there too.
Don't drop us ahead of yourself here. Right?
Oh, I have to.
You know who I'm going to bring up right now?
No, who are you going to bring up?
Pablo Cementhead.
Oh, you mean Cement Shoes?
Cement Shoes.
Yeah, he's in the mix somewhere.
What are you going to do with Pablo?
Listen, he's down 45 pounds.
So he's down to 380.
Of course he gave it to me. Because
he's down to 380.
Look,
okay,
50
great.
pounds on the camera.
I see what this camera's done to you.
I know.
You're about 380 right now.
Yeah.
But what do you do with that guy and the amount of money that you're paying him right now?
He's going to play somewhere. And again, listen.
Well, don't sidestep the issue, buddy.
But he did a good job.
Where are you going to put him?
No, he's going to be a third baseman. He's going to be your third baseman. Okay?
He's going to be your third baseman.
Well, they don't have a third base. Who's a quality third baseman they have right now? You're going to put Shaw in there? He was terrible. You're going to put Brock Holt in there? He's horrible. Okay, so
but I think it's safe to assume Brock Holt will be your utility infielder.
Yes.
And I think that's a good position.
And I think Travis Shaw is going to find his way out of here somehow.
I think,
because I don't think he's going to fit into the plans. Because again, like you said, not only money-wise, but because Sandoval has supposedly, got himself into shape. Now we'll see what happens between now and the offseason, where he can go get back on the bonds, and we'll see what happens. But if he comes back into shape, he's going to be a third baseman. Okay, yes, it is. All right, so let's move on to the second baseman, Dustin Pedroia. I'll give you an I grade on him. He was an A+. Okay, to me, there was only 3 guys in this team that were an A+ all year long. He was one of them. Solid right from the beginning. Defensively, he played unbelievable second base. When he moved to the leadoff position, Johnny, his batting average was close to 450.
Which he doesn't like.
Okay,
but
just a team player.
You know
that's
what?
the way he is.
On this show, we like to debate and go on the opposite sides, but I got to tell you, these first 2 marks you gave to Ramirez and Pedroia, right? They're dead nuts. Yeah. I thought Dustin Pedroia played.
I'd say probably the best baseball. Yeah, I think so too.
There's no question.
I agree. All right, let's move on to the third baseman. We got 3 of them. Okay, we had Travis Shaw, we had Brock Holt, and we had Aaron Hill. Now I'll give you the 3 separate grades. Travis Shaw, I gave a C- too. Okay. Yeah. Beginning of the year, he looked like he was going to fill the role real well, but the pitchers finally figured him out, and then forget it.
Waist high, forget it.
Yeah, up and in, waist high, forget it. He was done.
Yep.
Brock Holt. Good little service, like you said, good little utility guy.
He can play everything.
Solid C+, okay, for him, okay?
Yeah.
His defense at third base now is not his strong point. He can pretty much play all over the place.
He can.
But his third base is probably his weakest place to play, okay? And then Aaron Hill, he came in towards the end of the season. I mean, if I got to give him a grade, I'm going to give him a D- because he's supposed to be a professional hitter and is supposed to be a professional player,
I'd
and he really
give
didn't
him
show.
a solid
He
season.
didn't.
I mean, he
didn't show
came
much.
in. Well, that's the thing. He
didn't
didn't
show
have a lot of playing time, so I don't think that's a fair grade for him.
Shortstop Xander Bogaerts. Okay, now Xander Bogaerts at one point in time was on track to be the MVP of the league this year. He started out in the first half of the season just on fire. He was anybody that was talking about a young player in baseball, they were talking about Xander Bogaerts. And then something happened with this kid. Second half of the season, he just went into the tank.
I looked into this.
You did.
You could look at Derek Jeter when
Right.
he first started.
Yep.
He went through that same type of thing. And then year 3 and 4, though, it started turning on the Jets. This is really his first full season. You look at Bogaerts.
At shortstop.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
I still
young
gave
kid,
him a B plus.
but
Okay.
that hurt at the end of the year.
I gave him a B plus. Okay, and that was only because of the drastic drop that he had from the first half to the second half.
There's no question.
Okay, again,
But I was surprised. I was surprised how good defensively he played this year. He wasn't known to be the defensive.
Not a lot of range, and that's one of the things
But-
that
yeah,
that Dave Dombrowski talked about was that he and you know what he kind of does, and it's a good point you made. He kind of does remind me of a Derek Jeter because Jeter wasn't all that much of a range guy
Smooth,
either.
very smooth.
Exactly, but he could get to the balls he was supposed to get to and make the
Right.
plays he was supposed to. So
Yep.
he was solid. Again, you're listening, or you're watching now. Listening because I'm back to our radio days again. You're watching Talking Sports with Ronnie and Johnny here on Drake and Access TV. The number on the bottom to call is 978-957-4243. If you want to give us a call. Give us a call. Tell us what you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the Red Sox and what you felt, how the Red Sox played this year, please feel free to do that.
How great
Call
would
us
it be
anytime.
to see Tito Francona win the World
I
Series?
loved it. You
Can
know what? I'll tell
imagine
you
that?
what would be nothing better than to see him and the Cubs.
Up the Cubs.
Okay.
But if the Cubs continue the way they're playing,
Boy, I'll tell you, they're doing the same thing the Red Sox did right now. They're not
what
hitting.
is going on with Rizzo
They're
and
not hitting. And Bryant?
four
for
for
like
50?
45? Yeah, whatever it is.
I mean, if
they're going
they
through
don't
the
win.
same
They
thing.
don't win without them.
They're just all not hitting at the same time, and that's
But
not
the
gonna
Dodger
be,
pitching has been tremendous.
Sure it is.
It has been tremendous.
So let's go to the left fielders again. We'll go to Chris Young and Andrew Benintendi. Let's start with Chris Young. I like Chris Young. I really like him as a ball player.
That injury killed him.
Yeah, well, again,
really
you know,
did.
he's getting older and he's going to have those injuries. But when he does play, he plays hard and he plays. I mean, he's a good, solid major league hitter.
When they said he was brought in to hit left-handers, that's what he did.
So with him and Andrew Benintendi, I actually gave them both B pluses. Okay, Benintendi is going to be on track to be and I hate to say, I don't want to use the word star because he's still relatively young, but you can see the difference between him and a guy like Mercado, who came up and just did nothing. Okay, he's not ready.
You know what Benintendi, between pitches, he was already thinking, what is this guy going to throw me? At his age, he already knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Like you said,
he's got the baseball IQ.
You know, Moncada, you look at him, he was just up there hacking.
No,
you know,
curveballs, he's going to learn how to hit a curveball.
But that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, now this kid Mercado is the #1 rated player in baseball.
Yeah.
Never mind the Red Sox system, in baseball, but he sure didn't look it. Okay, so
he's
hats off to Benintendi who came up and just went right into the flow of the season.
Not next year, the year after. He should third baseman.
Yeah, he could be.
He's going to be.
Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field, okay? Man, I'll tell you, we have a good friend, okay, Jimmy Alamesis, and I got to tell you, me and him all year long were talking about Jackie Bradley Jr. And, he started off on fire. Month of April and May, I think he was the player of the year in May.
He was
either May or
unbelievable.
June, okay?
Yeah.
He was a player of the month or something in May or June. He was just getting 29-game inning streak, probably the longest this year in baseball. And he looked like he was going to be what the Red Sox had hoped for, okay? When they first, couple of years ago, when he first came on the scene and they kind of babied him along a little bit and they said, you know what, we got a guy here, he's unbelievable in the outfield and he's going to be a very, very good Major League Baseball player. Well, he looked that way for the first couple of months and then, man, did they expose his weaknesses. He averaged a strikeout like every 6 at-bats. Okay, he was averaging probably even less
there was
for
talk,
a period of time.
There was talk in June, saying the Red Sox are going to have a huge decision to make with who do you keep? Mookie Betts? Do you keep Bradley? Do you keep Benintendi? I mean, you're not going to have enough money to pass all these guys around.
I think Bradley made it easy for them for the last 6 months because I got to tell you, to go from an average of 364 down to less than 265,
but
takes a lot of not hitting.
I mean, me and you played baseball a long time.
Yeah.
How do you build a team?
Oh, from the middle up. You build it from
defensively.
The middle. Oh, I understand that.
You know, you got to take that. He did save a lot of balls, a lot of doubles and triples this year.
Listen, I'll tell you what. But
if you have center fielders that you're looking at, Ronnie.
But I am going to tell you that. No, I understand that, Johnny. But you know what? The only thing I don't agree with is, and I watched a lot of the games this year, and I'm going to tell you, yes, he does.
You don't have much of a social life anymore.
No, I don't.
Okay.
He does have a good first step, but I'm going to be honest with you. Balls to right center field. It's a good thing Betts was out there for him, okay? Because Betts made a lot of plays out there, right? So again, with Jackie Bradley Jr., I gave him a B minus, okay?
I think that's a fair grade.
B minus, okay.
That's
overall,
a fair grade. Fair grade.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a scared, Johnny. I'm a scared. Okay, I'm a scared of him going forward. I think right now his trade value is as good as it's going to get, and if I could get somebody of value, whatever the need be, they decide their need is, Jackie Bradley Jr. is one of the guys I would throw into that. All right, so we got to go to the right fielder, which is Mookie Betts. Let's not even bother with Mookie Betts because I'm gonna move on Mookie because, as far as I'm concerned, Mookie Betts was the MVP of the league. Never mind the best player; he gets a solid A+. But he was the best player in baseball this year, bar none, as far as I'm concerned.
From
I'm going to talk about that.
From April to September,
I would absolutely say so.
Because if you would have talked to me in August, I would have said probably Donaldson. Because he was tearing it up. He was tearing it up.
Right.
But then he just dropped.
Him. And we'll get to that in a second when we get the MVP of the league, we get the Cy Young. Okay, so let's move on to the DH, David Ortiz. Again, third guy that I say deserves an A+. You know, there's something about David Ortiz that you either love David Ortiz or you really don't like David Ortiz. There's a faction of people out there that go either way. Case in point, again, I brought him up again, is our friend Jimmy. He thinks that David Ortiz is a great ball player, but he thinks he's overhyped. Okay?
I mean, and maybe you'll agree or disagree with me on this, but I'm old school, and you got to play offense and you got to play defense. And I know today's baseball, the designated here, and it is what it is. I get it. But you know what? I personally, if I was voting for the Hall of Fame, I mean, I think he'd get my vote, but just barely, just because I don't believe in just playing offense.
Well, here's my thing.
That's why. That's why when you look at when you talk about the greatest ball players of all time, the Willie Mayses, all those guys that played both sides. And I understand the game's changed.
Back then there really wasn't DHs, so
there wasn't.
Okay.
Well, you can't think of any other. What other DH can you think of other than Edgar Martinez?
Edgar Martinez.
Who else stands up? Frank Thomas is really a first baseman.
He played a little bit of first base, but you're right. But here's the thing.
He is one of the greatest. He is one of the greatest hitters I've ever seen.
One of the greatest clutch hitters. I don't think there's any question about it. But here's my point, and the point I'm going to make is, and we'll talk about this probably on different shows, but I'll make it brief. David Ortiz reminds me of people that say, well, he's just a DH. He only played one side of the ball. Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is he's a specialist. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then how do you get relief pitchers in the Hall of Fame? Because that's all they are. They're specialists too. All they do is come in and they don't even do. And some of the relievers now aren't like the old relievers. Some of the old relievers back in the 70s, the 60s, 70s, they'd pitch 3 and 4 innings for saves. Now some of these guys can't pitch 3 outs.
Well, you don't see relievers. I mean, that only really started, I'm going to say, Suter, Eckersley, Raleigh Fingers. But before that, starting pitchers.
Oh, well, they were going 9 innings, right.
They were going 10, 11, 12.
Complete games were more apt back then. But
sure.
The role of the closer has steadily declined to where you can't even have a guy pitch 4 outs anymore. Okay, he can't even come in with 2 outs in the 8th, and they implode. And we'll get to that in a second when we get to our relievers.
When you get to stats, too, when you bring in a guy in the 9th inning, you're up by 3 runs, and that's considered a save. Sorry, that's no save.
You're right.
1 run is a save. All right.
Exactly. Come in like they used to with the bases loaded and nobody out in the 9th inning and do a save. That's when it's.
Don't give me that 3-0 and coming in for a save.
So let's move on to the catchers. There were 4 catchers that caught this year.
This is going to be interesting.
Ryan Hannigan, Brian Holiday, and Christian Vasquez. Okay, now I did.
Well, you forgot about one.
Who about?
Swihart.
Oh, Swihart. All right. Again, he didn't play all that much. He played at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
I'm going to give him an incomplete. Okay, because he really didn't play much.
Yep.
All right. Sandy Leon, Hannigan, Holiday, and Vasquez. I didn't grade any one of those guys higher than a C-. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, they're going to be hurting next year when it comes to catching. Look at Sandy Leon.
Do you really? I'm not concerned about that.
Sandy Leon is not a 325 hitter.
But how can you give him a C- when He was nowhere. We all knew what kind of a guy he was. But again, he gave you a great season until the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Defensively,
great.
I thought he was average defensively. Okay, average defensively.
You're
okay?
an idiot.
And I know that, but that's
you don't even know what you're talking about half the time.
But Sandy Leone, was no better than an average catcher, and he showed towards the end of the season his batting prowess. Okay, because he didn't hit very well in the last month, Johnny. He hit probably about 190. Okay, and the only reason
unfortunately, he was up in that series against Cleveland, and he had a lot of times to bring, and he just didn't. That killed us a lot. Yeah. He couldn't hit at the last 3 weeks of the season and postseason. He wasn't there.
All right, so
and that, you know what? Sorry, but that's going to bring me back to the manager again, saying, how did he play so much?
All right,
I mean, throughout the whole year, you had to give him a break. He never caught that many games running throughout his whole career.
I agree.
So why not use another guy? And to me, I still don't understand. I understand what Hannigan, he was a veteran. But Christian Vasquez was ready to go again.
I know he was. But Christian Vasquez, you got to understand, gives you no 0-0 hitting, okay? Good defensively, great defensively.
Fisk, Johnny Bench,
the Red Sox
Jason
philosophy.
Veritek, those guys didn't hit
the Red Sox philosophy and Farrell's philosophy was about hitting, okay? It wasn't about defense. It was about hitting. Okay,
how do you build a team, Ronny?
But right now, I know you build it from the middle up. All right. But right now, we have our resident hockey guru, Ray Keefe, on the line talking about UMass Lowell hockey. Ray, how you doing right now?
I'm doing pretty good, guys.
Good, Ray.
How you doing?
Good. What's going on? How you been?
Pretty good.
Good.
Good. Waiting for this weekend to get here, and I'm glad you guys are back. It's been a long time. I know you guys have put a lot of effort into this.
Well, it's all about the negotiations, Ray. It's all about the negotiations.
You believe that, Ray? 7 years, 217
we finally
million
got what we wanted.
us.
7 year. Well, David Price money.
Well, that's you guys deserve it. After last season, you guys deserve it.
You're absolutely right. I agree too. All right, so tell us about UMass Lowell hockey. What's been going on with that team?
Well, I mean, you're looking at the team that doesn't have any losses. We went through several weeks last year where they were undefeated. In Hockey East right now, guys, there's a lot of teams with losses in that conference, including BU, BC, Connecticut, Notre Dame. So Lowell's sitting here at 2-0-2, maybe a little bit disappointed after week one because they gave those 2 games away late. So in other words, came out with ties, but they kind of felt like losses. But it was against Minnesota Duluth, nationally ranked team. And then you go out to Colorado last weekend and you have a sweep. So, not a bad start, guys.
Hey, Ray, I know that UMass Lowell is carrying 4 goalies, 2 freshmen and 2 sophomore. Looks like Coach Bazin is kind of giving the reins to Tyler Wall. Is that something that we should expect, kind of a Kevin Boyle effort from last year, or do you think you're going to see a couple more goalies play some games here?
Well, I think that it was going to be a little bit of a swapping back and forth, John, but the kid has come up strong so far. And when he did come in relief, he saved the game against Duluth. He had a shutout last week. I think you're going to start to see him get the majority of the ice time there, and it will be his to lose, Johnny.
I mean, they graduated a bunch of seniors last year. I mean, they still get C.J. Smith, Gambardella, but this team, if they can pull off with the amount of freshmen they have and they can still stay in that top 10, you got to foresee UMass Lowell becoming a real force for the next 4, 5, 6 years.
Well, they did have a good recruiting class. You got Gambardella, as you mentioned, as the leader, as a senior this year, just a dynamite player. Keep an eye on him. He's just a great player. We talked about him a lot last year. And I think really what it comes down to is the defense helping out the goaltender, the young goaltender, if it happens to be Wall. And again, guys, they have been in the penalty box far too much these first 4 games. They've given up a lot of shots on goal in the third period and a lot of penalties in the third period. And they have survived because their power play is about 41%. We know that's not going to continue on, so you got to hope that you're going to, be in the power, executing your power play at about 20, 22%, but you got to stay out of the box, guys. And they take luckily,
Luckily, they're at 40% on the power play, which I think has saved them. But I do agree with you, Ray, is that defensively, they're going to have to really stick it now. And right now, obviously a young season right now, and it'll get better. But let's face it, defense wins games.
Ray, let me ask you a quick question though. Beginning of the year, the Hockey East had them ranked 4th in Hockey East. They said they were going to be ranked 4th in Hockey East. Right now, they're ranked 5th overall. Where do you see this team in the future? Now, I know you said, and I know they're 2-0-2 right now, but they really haven't played the meat. They haven't played the BUs or the BCs. How are they going to stack up against teams like that?
Well, I think it's going to be really how the goaltender comes into play here. It's always been the backbone. It's been the reason why they have been having such success in the last 2 years, guys. If Tyler Wall or one of these guys can step up, they have so much depth at the forward and defensively that I think that they can compete in this conference. And again, remember last year we talked about it really only matters to finish 4th, right?
Right.
You finish 4th, you get that first home ice series at home, and then it's on to the Garden. So I think BU is going to be very strong. Notre Dame is going to be strong. Providence is going to be there. Guys, Maine got out of the box here, like you read about, beat RPI twice, and they split against Quinnipiac. I'm not sure what's going on with them. They were picked 12th, but Hockey East is always a dogfight, and you can't take weekends off. Remember, Connecticut swept them right before Christmas last year, and that was a tough one. We thought that was going to come back to hurt them, and it really didn't in the end, but it almost did. So I think that they'll finish 3rd or 4th, guys, and that's where we want them to finish.
They're playing home this Friday and Saturday against St. Lawrence and Clarkson. Can you tell us anything about those two teams, Ray?
Well, St. Lawrence is ranked. Clarkson might be the easier of the 2 games, but, it's a couple of tough ECAC foes. It's going to be to get out of that weekend with a sweep will be difficult. I mean, I think that sometimes last year we talked, if you come out with 3 points, let's get the 3. But, obviously they're going to go in for the sweep. And it's alumni weekend. Maybe that'll give them a little boost and some nice home cooking back there. And I'd love to see a sweep, but you just never know. It's so competitive, guys. It's really unbelievable.
As always, I'm sure we'll see a sellout at Songus Arena, just like many nights last year. Ray, we appreciate you coming by, talking on Monday here. We're talking Ronny and Johnny. And
Wednesday
is it Wednesday night?
Yeah, Wednesday now. We switched.
Oh,
that's okay though. Monday,
Wednesday.
Yeah,
that's right.
No. Radio, TV, it's all. But Ray, thanks again. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
You sure it's Wednesday?
We'll see. Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. We'll talk to you next
guys,
week, Ray.
thanks for having me, and good luck, guys.
We'll see you, Ray.
We'll see you, buddy.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks.
Wednesday,
Ray Keefe.
huh? Wednesday?
Yeah, it's Wednesday now. I know it's been tough for you. You've had too much work for you. I'm telling you.
Not been a good week.
The doctor. What did the doctor say about you?
Age.
That's what he said?
Old age.
That's all it was?
That's it. Just old age.
All right. All right, again, Ray Keefe with our.
We love Ray.
Yeah, Ray's phenomenal. He comes loaded, man. He comes loaded for beer. He knows his UMass Lowell hockey.
He does.
He really does.
And seriously, it's going to be another exciting season at the Songus.
Yeah, it's going to be about the Ute there, though.
It is going to be
Johnny,
Ute.
because they're a very young team right now, and let me tell you, they're either going to gel or they're going to, as they say,
but I tell
sometimes
they
poop
bang
their
them,
pants.
They bang them out over there.
Oh, absolutely. It's a
When
good product.
when you get BC and BU, 6,000 people standing in room.
It's a good product.
I mean,
over there.
it's unbelievable.
Good hockey.
You bring your kid for $7-8.
Yeah.
You can't beat that deal.
It's about 3 more I can afford, but that's besides. Oh no, we just got the contract. I forgot. Have you got your first check yet?
You did, didn't you?
No, let's say the word. All right, let's get back to the Red Sox real quick here. All right, so we were talking about the grades for the Red Sox, and we had just finished talking about the catches, and so we're going to move on to the pitches.
Well, wait, we didn't finish. Because you didn't know what you were talking about with Vasquez.
That's usually what happens.
Exactly.
I thought I just kind of pushed that away.
No, I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, as usual.
Go.
Christian Vasquez is how old? 24, 25?
25 maybe.
26 maybe?
Yeah.
Catches don't even get into their prime until they're 28, 29, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you looked at Fisk, the benches, Jason Veritek. Jason Veritek almost was kicked off the team.
But what part of his hitting have you seen so far that's going to project 3 years from now that he's going to be a
What about Jason Veritek? You remember Jason Veritek?
Yeah, when he first played for Seattle. Yeah.
He couldn't nothing.
Right, but
he
he came to the Red Sox and he hit the wall as probably as better than any catcher that I had seen. But
not when he first started with the Sox.
Sure, he did. When he came to the Red Sox, he came guns blazing.
No. You got to give this kid Vasquez a chance to play full time without an injury. Yeah, I'm telling you, you got to give him a shot.
So when he was ready to play, why didn't the Red Sox bring him right up? Why did they stay with a guy like Sandy Leon and Brian? Why did they get a Brian Holiday when they had a Vasquez
because
right there?
Sandy Leon was playing Carlton Fisk.
So let's forget about Leon. Let's talk about Brian Holiday. Why did they go get him? Why did they pick him up off the scrap heap if Vasquez was ready to play?
They needed him down to protect us. They had nobody.
They have no confidence in Vasquez. They have none. So
after you've done this, I'm going to throw a scenario with you on position because I think Blake Swihart has a position at first base.
I think Blake Swihart.
He could be that.
Well, that's why they put him in the outfield because they want to see if he's capable of playing another position.
But you can look at him at a first base.
Yeah, but you could. But I don't think listen. First of all, Blake Swihart is not going to hit 25 and 30 homers for you.
How do you know?
Your first base position needs to be able to hit 25 homers and 100. You're going to have to replace a guy. In essence, you're replacing a guy that's hitting 30 homers and 120 RBIs.
Yeah, but you're saying you think you're going to get Edwin Encarnacion.
I think so. I think they're going to get a top-notch.
Well, if they don't get him, then Ramirez has got to be your DH.
He's going to. Well,
so you need a first baseman.
Okay. Again, I'm playing hindsight here, but I really do think that the Red Sox are going to go out and get a guy like Encarnacion. I really do.
Who else is out there like?
Well, you've got Davis. You got Davis from Baltimore. You've got
he strikes out 400 times a year.
He does absolutely, but he has 40 homers. I mean, you know what? That's what you want. You want some power at your first base position. All right, let's move on here because I want to talk about the pitching. Because you know what? Me and you have been battling about David Price.
This is the first time we've been on TV and we're already going at it.
No, that's okay. Okay, so. The starting pitching, and we're gonna hold off on Price because this is something.
Don't get me.
No, we gotta.
I was at the doctor's
we
this
have
week.
to
My
hold
high
off
blood
on
pressure.
Price, okay? Because you're not gonna kind of like what I have to say about Price because I just don't think. I think people are a little bit harsh with him, okay? And so when we get to that, and I'll explain why. I have the stats to prove what I'm going to say. But let's move to Rick Porcello, okay? Not only is Rick Porcello, again, like I said about Mookie Betts, Rick Porcello was the ace of the staff when he really shouldn't have had all that pressure on him. But you could kind of see that coming on in the second half of last year that he was getting better. Because the second half of last year, we finally figured out that you don't go up there and try to be like a Kelly, like a Joe Kelly, and throw 100 miles an hour over the middle of the plate.
Yeah,
okay, and you just get lit up like a Christmas tree. And that's what was happening to him in the first half of last year. He finally figured out how to pitch. And since he's figured out how to pitch, he's now become the ace of the staff and the Cy Young winner this year, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I know you don't agree with that. I think you have another guy that you're...
I like J.A. Happ.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he had a heck of a season. But if you look at stats-wise, they're both equal. And
yeah,
either guy could be...
Pretty much. I think the only thing that's going to be the difference is the fact that he had 2 more wins. Because the ERAs are pretty much the same. Everything else is pretty much the same. They both made the playoffs. So it's kind of a toss-up. That one, I think, is going to be more of a toss-up than anything else. The other guy that I just want to throw in
it's
there...
It's good that he learned how to have faith in his slider.
Oh, absolutely. And many pitches.
And what makes a good pitcher a great pitcher is that, fine, you can go off that outside corner and nip, and then throw a nice slider, but eventually they're going to get to you.
Right.
It's when you come inside and you can, wait a minute. Oh, he's going to pitch me inside now, too.
First, the one thing about Porcello is he pounds the strike zone.
He does.
The only way that he gets hit, and you saw it in the playoff game, is when he gets his little fastball, his two-seamer that dips down, okay, kind of almost like a sinker. When that stays up, it's just a hittable pitch. And that's what happened to him in that game. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see a second time for him, okay, because obviously they bowed out in 3. Mm-hmm. But him going forward, I'm not too concerned if and when the Red Sox get into the playoffs next year. I'm not concerned with him moving forward because I think had he been given a second chance to pitch, I think he would have saw an improvement. Unlike David Price. And again, we're going to hold off on that. I know I don't want to just give you the stroke, okay? So again, Porcello, again, I gave him an A+, okay?
He was dynamite.
I think he was
dynamite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Clay Buchholz, I'm going to kind of bang through these, and if there's anybody else that I'm missing or you think that maybe...
You give me some grades, and if I disagree...
I'm thinking Clay Buchholz is about a B-, okay? All in all. Because he started off lousy, horrible. But towards the end of the year, he really was. When Stephen Wright went out, if it wasn't for Clay Buchholz, that staff would have been in a lot of disarray. They really didn't know.
Well, he was an
who gonna
emergency
be
spot
three,
starter,
but
and he did. He held it together.
Absolutely. What happened was they wanted him just to pitch just as a spot starter.
But why can't he pitch like he did in the second half?
Again, John, it's going to remain to be seen because now he's pitching from the stretch now, and he's
Ronny,
tightening things up.
He's been pitching for us for 4 years.
I mean, listen,
he's been the most inconsistent starter we've ever had.
But I think he's had all the potential in the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that he's going to be like, Porcello like next year. But what I'd like to see is the start of the season when he's now finally figured out what makes him comfortable on the mound, and he pitched a lot better. And let's see if that transfers over to next year.
I agree with you. He basically has what Rick Porcello did last year. You know how Porcello, you said he wants to throw it 92 every time and over.
He's pounding the strike zone as well.
Clay Buckhouse is 6'1", 110 pounds.
So
okay, that's it.
Right.
He can't pitch like that.
Right.
He's going to have to be that slider, the big curveball. Bust him inside. If he can do that, he's a number 3 or 4 starter.
I agree. I agree.
But he refuses to do it, Ronnie.
We'll see what happens next year. I'm holding out hope for him.
Well,
I'm one of those guys. I'm one of the rare few that's going to hold out hope because I saw some things at the end of the year that kind of makes me wonder whether or not he's kind of figured it out.
Can you imagine that? We're going to pick up his option for $10 million.
Yeah.
Just because, well, let's see.
Well, they will because you know what?
$10 million.
You're going to for $10 million, you're pretty much on the cheap. Okay.
Imagine
for a
that.
Guy yeah, I agree. All right. So Eddie Rodriguez. Okay. Eddie Rodriguez is the enigma of the pitching staff on this team.
No doubt.
Okay. Because he just came out of nowhere. Last year came out of nowhere, and he pitched.
Got great stuff.
Tremendous. Absolutely great stuff. Then they had the problem with the tipping thing where he was tipping pitches. Okay. And he was getting lit up. He figured that out. Started to pitch really well again. And then all of a sudden,
no injury here.
Bang again.
Yeah.
Okay, down again. So another guy where, never going to probably be an ace. And at one time, people were thinking this kid was going to be an ace. Okay?
He's a number 2 or 3. He can be that
I don't see it, Johnny. I see him as a number 4. Solid number 4, maybe a 5th starter in your rotation. That's all I see from him because he hasn't shown me.
But I'll take that. I'll take that.
Temperament-wise, he can.
In this staff, I'll take it.
Well, sure, yeah. But you know what? Again, you shouldn't need him for more than anything like that because you have Price. You have Porcello. You have Buckholz, who, again, is supposed to be a, number 3, number 2 starter. Okay, so
no, I get it.
You shouldn't have to have that. And again, we found gold this year, and I'm going to mention the guy that we found gold in. Okay, so for Eddie Rodriguez, I gave a C+. I gave him an average year this year for him. Okay,
C.
all right. But Stephen Wright. Okay, here was a guy that came out of nowhere with this knuckleball and was having an unbelievable, as far as I'm concerned.
I'd rather have
season.
You pitch running than Stephen Wright.
Okay, we'll talk about the manager in a second and some of the knucklehead moves that he made. That his top 3 knucklehead moves.
Unbelievable.
Okay, which will only be 3 of about 50 if we really wanted to do it. Okay, but Stephen Wright, until he got hurt, was probably outside of Porcello was 1 and 1A. Okay, I gave Stephen Wright an A-.
At the beginning of the season, would you ever pick those 2 guys?
Oh no. No, absolutely not. Because Price was supposed to come in and win 22 games for you, okay? It wasn't supposed to be Porcello, it was supposed to be 22. No. It was supposed to be Price. But we're going to talk about Price in a second because, again, I don't want to get you all wound up here, all right? All right, so I gave him an A-. Drew Pomerantz, he just came in towards the second half, and I gave him a C- because he didn't show me anything, to be honest with you. He didn't get comfortable here. He's one of those Southern California guys who just is not going to get comfortable in Boston.
It's going to be interesting because basically you have 6 starters right now.
You could potentially have 6
well, you have
starters.
6.
Yeah.
Because Buckholz,
right.
I mean, really, you got to make him a starter. You can't make him a 5th.
Oh, no, he's already Dombrowski was asked that at the after his day after they lost the 3rd game, and he already guaranteed that Farrell was coming back, which maybe spit up in my mouth a little bit when I heard that. But he said that they asked about Pomerantz, and they said that he was going to be a starter next year. He wasn't going to be doing the relief thing. So he will be a starter next year.
So he has 6 starters.
Okay, so
awesome.
The 2 guys that, by process of elimination here, that will probably be fighting for the 5th position is going to be probably Clay Buckholz and Eddie Rodriguez, because you got to figure that Price, Porcello, Pomerantz, Stephen Wright, if he's healthy, is probably going to be back again as a starter. And so it's going to be Buckholz and Eddie Rodriguez is going to be fighting for that number 5, unless somebody else comes up. But you know what? They've had the guys like Henry Owens come up, and again, these guys poop their pants when they come up. They can't play. They're professional minor league pitchers. Okay, that's pretty much what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, unless they have really something that's in AA ball, maybe an A ball right now that in the next year or 2 that can come up. You don't know what you're going to get from the.
Well, they basically had that guy, but they traded him for Pomerantz. Correct.
Absolutely. Well, that remains to be seen. All right, let's go with the relief pitchers real quick, okay? Bonds, we're going to talk again. Don't worry, we're going to talk about Price. Okay, Bonds, I gave a C. He doesn't do anything for me. He's not even exciting to me. He's just a
But
guy
I'll take
that's
my
just there,
Barnes to pitch
okay?
the 5th, 6th inning.
Well, he's a good long reliever. If
That's
you're
what
in
he-
trouble, that's what you do. He's a C. He's a C guy.
He's giving
Heath
you
Hembry-
he's giving you 94, 95.
Heath Hembry a B. Okay, I gave him a B because he was probably one of the most consistent relievers the Red Sox had all year. Okay, again. So Joe Kelly, I gave him a C minus because Joe Kelly's either one of two things. He's either 100 miles an hour and blowing guys away, or 100 miles an hour and getting lit up like a Christmas tree.
Well, I think
you never know which one you're going to get with this guy.
It's 1A, 1B with
Yeah, he
Bonds,
reminds
Bonds
me
and
of
Kelly.
remember the guy, who was the 8th inning? And again, if people can know this and they want to call 978-957-4243. Who was the 8th inning guy that imploded? They tried to make him a starter, and then he ended up going mental cuckoo. That's who Joe Kelly reminds me of. It just happened last year or 2 years ago. Who was the 8th inning guy? They tried to make him a starter.
Oh,
He was
big guy.
Yeah, real. I forget his.
jeez.
Old. We're getting old, John. I can't remember. But somebody will let us know. All right. The only pitcher I gave. There were 2 pitchers on this staff that I gave a above C average. Tazawa I gave. Robbie Scott I gave an A minus to. I liked Robbie Scott when he had situations he had to come in. He actually pitched pretty well against lefties. That's what they should. That's where Johnny Farrell should have gone to instead of Pomerantz.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, either him or
One guy.
or the other guy, Robbie Scott, who they got towards the end of the season, and he was unbelievable against lefties. Okay, and now so going to Pomerantz again just didn't make any sense.
You're gonna have a little problem where it comes to the Tazawa or Uchiha.
Well, Tazawa's going to be gone next year. Tazawa, I gave him a D minus because he just couldn't. He's on hole 18 of 18.
Uehara
right
is
now.
also like
Uehara again. They talked about him and
I mean, you could give him a 1 year, $2 million
They're not picking
contract.
up his option. They already said that they're not going to pick up his option.
Yeah.
Well, Dombrowski said, he's a nice pitcher. But there wasn't a vote of confidence for him either. Okay.
Well, there's your Carson Smith. That's what Carson Smith's
At
gonna
41
come in.
years old, he's no Tom Brady.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. He's not in the shape he did pitch well towards the end of the season for us, but up until that point, he didn't. He didn't pitch very well.
Yeah.
All right. So Brad Ziegler came in. And
Nice
he was
job.
about the only guy that I can ask. I gave him a B+. He's about the only guy that actually came in and did his job.
But
that did a,
you
did a
could
great
tell
job.
him- you could
Put
tell
him
he
in
didn't
the
like
sixth,
when
put him in the
Farrell-
7th, put him in the 8th. Okay, he got outs. Okay, but
I don't think him and
for
Farrell
some
get like
reason,
them.
No, I don't think Farrell was enamored by him for some reason, and Farrell lost confidence in him.
Yeah.
Big time, because at the point when you lose a guy like Carson Smith and you're looking all year round, you didn't get it from Uehara, you didn't get it from Tazawa, so you're looking for that 8th inning guy, and here comes a guy like Brad Ziegler who comes in, steps in the 8th inning, he starts pitching well.
Right.
Well, then all of a sudden he's not pitching in the 8th anymore. I don't understand that.
Right.
Again, the
If you want to go with Ziegler and Kimbrough, stay with it.
you look at most teams have an 8th and a 9th. They don't vary from
Listen,
that. They keep going. And again, I know Carson
If you see
Smith
a
was supposed
David
to be
Price
there,
for 8 innings, and then you bring in Ziegler, these hitters are going, whoa, 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 whoa. This
Okay.
thing's coming underneath, going up. You know what I mean?
Now this is the one that you might not agree with me, but Craig Kimball. Okay. Now again, I'm going to preface this by saying he's a closer. Okay, he's a closer. And we talked about this earlier about the mentality of closers, where back in the day, you could put a closer in the 8th inning and say, you got to get me 6 outs. Okay, you got to get me 6 outs. Or you could put a closer in the 9th inning of a tie game, okay, to secure a lead.
A
Okay?
Dennis Eckersley.
Okay,
You could
to
do it.
secure a
Right.
lead.
Yeah,
Okay,
right, yep.
Top of the 9th inning, you secure the lead. Bottom of the 9th inning, you score a run, you win the game. This guy, Craig Kimball, can't do that. And he's proven that not just on the Red Sox, but before he was on the Red Sox, that any non-save situation, he was awful.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I preface that by saying using him as a closer when he was in save situations, he was outstanding. Okay, outstanding. A little bit of a heart attack, would put him in on base, but he generally would get out of those situations and he'd have a save.
You're right.
For that situation alone, and again, if I base it on just what he was supposed to do and not what John Farrell put him in the position to do, I gave him an A-. Okay?
The problem is his inconsistency. You could call it save or whatnot. You
Again-
still got to throw the ball over the plate. And at
I-
times, he was all over the place.
Again, I agree that he's a little bit of a heart attack of a closer, but when he was in save situations that he was supposed to be in, I think he did a great job. So I'm going to give him an A-. So that's going to lead us to the manager, and then we're going to get to your man, David Price. Okay, and we're going to talk about the fact that he's not happy with us getting the same
get my
contract
med-
with
should
him.
I take my medicine first, or?
You didn't take your medicine?
My head blood. I'm ready to.
Double up the dose because we're gonna go into. Let's talk about the other heart attack here, John
my
Farrell.
God.
Okay, I how the Red Sox are even considering bringing this man back is beyond me. And let me just preface this, Johnny, by saying this, okay? Last year, and again, I said this when, on the radio, I'll say this on TV. I am not begrudging anybody that has cancer, okay? Cancer is an awful, awful thing, okay? Nobody should ever get cancer, all right? But the fact of the matter is, before John Farrell was diagnosed with cancer last year, he was on his way out. He was getting fired. It was only because John Farrell got cancer and the season was over that the Red Sox decided we're going to keep him, because they didn't want the PR of somebody that just battled through cancer.
I get it.
Okay.
No, there's no doubt about it. The thing is that why do you sign Torey Lovello to a contract with that type of money that he was getting as an assistant?
Problem happened this year, Johnny. They were winning. Okay? They were winning. In spite of John Farrell.
But even on EI in 93.7, they're even talking about these players behind the scenes are saying, this isn't even
Here's the other part of it. The goodbye tour. Okay? They didn't want to take away from David Ortiz's goodbye tour with something as drastic as having to fire a coach who was winning. So they decided, you know what? We're going to let him go through the season. They had their perfect out, Johnny. They just had their perfect out to get rid of him. Swept by the Cleveland Indians in 3 games. Sorry, John, thank you very much, but it's time for you to go.
So you say, all right, he's coming back next year, right? But you're not even going to extend him.
No, they're not.
So where's the rationale to that?
I don't know. You know what?
So you're going to be a lane manager.
I'm scratching my head. I'm scratching my head with things like.
And Dombrowski's a smart guy. What's the thinking?
He's got a history though, Johnny. He's a good GM and a good president of operations, but he does have a history of doing things, doing some odd things. And this is one of the odd things that he's doing, and I don't get it because, quite honestly, the Stephen Wright fiasco that John Farrell created by having him go out and pinch run when he had a guy
I would have sent the bat boy out first.
Well, if you could have.
You know what I mean?
But Pomerantz was there to do this, and he's a National League guy who runs all the time. Why wouldn't you have him do that? Okay? And I'm going to beat a dead horse because what happens was Stephen Wright going to be the answer in the playoffs? Who knows? The way he was
pitching. The thing is that you're the manager of that team who has just won the AL East. These guys should have been chopping at the bit that first game. Did that look like a team that was ready to play?
No. Oh, no.
No, I mean,
no.
Second game?
No.
Third game?
No.
At the end,
they look like a tired team. Because
in the 8th inning of the third game, hey, if we lose this, we're not going to be able to play.
I mean, look at the thing that Dombrowski said, because he was asked directly, is in-game managing that big a deal to you? Okay? And in-game managing obviously wasn't that big a deal to him because he said no. He said it's not the in-game managing that is going to be have me hire or fire a manager. It's whether or not the team gives an honest effort for the manager. Now, again, isn't that what the players are supposed to do in the first place? They're supposed to give an honest effort no matter what anyways.
Lovello's going to get the Arizona job.
He may.
And, and now then you're going to be left with a lane manager. These players are not going to give 110%. What are you going to do?
All right, so, again, I could say it all day. We don't have a lot of time. So, John Farrell, to me, I don't like giving failures. I don't give Fs, okay, but he gets a solid D- again for his efforts.
There's no question.
Okay, he gets a D-. All right, so let's go back to you, man. And we don't have a lot of time left, but we're going to.
We want to touch upon the Pats.
We're going to touch real quick about the Patriots, but okay, I just want to tell you something. I want to give you some stats real quick about David Price before you go off. Okay, about David Price. In the games he averaged all his career, okay. He averages 34 games started. He started 35 this year.
Yep.
His average is 16-9. He was 17-9. He averages 227 innings. He had 230 innings. He averaged 202 hits. He had 227 hits, which was up. 89 runs, 81 earned. He had 106 and 102 this year, which was up.
Yep.
Okay. 57 to 50 walks, 217 Ks to 228. So it's roughly the same thing. He averages 2 complete games, which he did. Here's the big telling sign here. 3.21 ERA to 1.14 ERA. He was 3.99, 1.20. Why do I think that was Fenway Park?
No doubt.
Okay, it was Fenway
no
Park.
Doubt.
Okay, now
230 innings.
With that said, John.
How much is that an inning?
Okay.
$31 million a year.
Yeah.
Divided by 200.
Okay, and again, that's the big sticking point right now because when he gets paid $30 million a year, people don't want 16-9 or 17.
I don't want good.
17.
I want great.
Okay, but here's the thing. My point being, if you look at his average over his career, and people thought he was an above-average pitcher, right? A good pitcher, a very good pitcher. with the average that he did, throughout the whole year or throughout his career, he has the same numbers this year. Okay.
The only reason why he did that, because the first month and a half he was terrible, right? And then part of John Farrell's team, Carl Willis, who was drinking some Jack Daniels while he was pitching, Price was pitching. Well, Pedroia is the one who picked up on Price's little quips.
Right.
Here, do this, do this.
Yeah.
Then he started winning.
Right. But my point is,
nothing against Jack Daniels, by the way.
No, I'm a fan.
Okay.
My thing is, I gave him a C-. Okay. I still gave him a C-, and I gave him the C-, not best in all the stats I just told you. I gave him a C- because we didn't bring him in for the regular season. Okay, we brought him in so that when he pitched game 2 of an ALCS or a division series, he wasn't going to poop his pants after 3 innings.
When he was in that third inning, Ronnie, and he took that.
Oh, you just saw it.
I'm going.
Oh
my God.
He was done.
See you later.
All right. That's going to do enough for our Red Sox. Thank you, Red Sox. Great season. Hope to see you next year.
Enough.
That'll be probably the only talk we have unless something big comes up between now and next year.
What a shame. That team should be in the World Series right now.
If they got by Cleveland, they definitely would beat Toronto, I believe, because Toronto just didn't hit.
Yeah,
they didn't hit at all. And I don't know if it was just because of Cleveland's pitching or just it was because they just, again, like the Cubs are doing right now against the Dodgers, and not hitting all at once. All right, so
I just texted Tom Brady. He should be calling in anyway.
Tommy's going to call?
Sure.
Yeah, he loves us. And you know he loves us.
You know he does.
Yeah, he does. All right, so let's talk about that real quick, okay? How's Goodell feeling right now? What do you think is going on in his mind? And let me just preface this by saying this week, Martellus Bennett in the game got clipped by Burfict, right? Yep. Okay. And Burfict's history, he got suspended 3 games this year, okay, because of doing that. His first 3 games were disciplinary from what he did last year, okay, in a game. So he does the same thing to Martellus Bennett.
No suspension.
And all of a sudden, no fine, no. There might have been a fine.
There's a fine. There's a big fine.
Okay,
I think it was like $750,000.
Oh, was it?
Well, $75,000.
Probably because of his past history. But if you suspend a guy for 3 games at the beginning of the year for the same type of situation, he does it again.
Yeah.
He's got to be suspended for 6 games. Yeah. If you can suspend a guy for 4 games for deflating balls or undeflating balls, and again, I'm not blaming Tom Brady. I'm not saying he did, he didn't. That's for the public to decide what he did. How can you take a guy who maliciously wants to maim people and say, I'm going to tell you why? Because the saddest guy in the NFL right now is Roger Goodell, okay? Mr. Goody. Okay?
He's sitting there.
Mr. Goodbar.
His fingernails are getting shorter and shorter and shorter because you know what?
Can you
imagine him watching the Super Bowl with the Patriots this year? If that does come to fruition.
Can you imagine him having to hand the trophy off to Tom Brady?
Oh, my God.
Okay, can you imagine him having to hand it? Because
social media.
I said this last year when the Patriots were going through their run last year, and Tom Brady wasn't serving his 4-game suspension. I said the same thing, and unfortunately, as we know how it turned out. But I feel good about this Patriots team this year. And the best thing I could see, because Brady did have to serve his 4 games, is at the very end when he's about to hand the Lombardi Trophy to Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft goes just like this, steps back, and goes, "Tom, why don't you take that from me?" Okay? You know Rogers, Mr. Goodbar, is not going to feel good about that. Okay?
You know what? I mean, we're all sat back and watched the first 4 games, and you know what? I don't think anybody would have thought they would have been 3-1.
Oh, I didn't. People will tell you on Facebook and on social media that I said they would be no better than 1-3.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Because I didn't. How do you see that? You didn't see that with Jimmy G in the preseason. He looked like.
And Brissett. They both did a good job.
They didn't look good.
The game plan. You know, it still comes down to preparation.
Sure.
And let's face it, Belichick and his coaching staff are the best in the
business.
Josh McDaniels just got him. He can go anywhere he wants at the end of this season. He's going to get a second chance.
But does he want that though? Do you think he wants that? Because he's got the best job in the world waiting right now for him. Once.
But do you really think Belichick's going to go in another year or two?
Listen,
he'll stay till Brady goes.
You just don't know. You just don't know. Okay, with
this
guy.
Let's face it. We're looking at a team that if Tom Brady stays healthy, there's how do they not go to the Super Bowl? The only deficiency I see right now is 3rd down defense. Right now, they're beginning up a lot of yardage on 3rd down.
But that's their team though. Bend don't break. 20 to 20, you can go from the 20 to 20 all day long.
But you love the way they manage their players. And what I mean by that is, you don't see LeGarrette Blount running the ball 25 times.
Right.
You know what? I think he ran the ball 7-8 times last game. The game before that, he ran it 18 times.
Well, it was necessary for him to do that.
Right.
They do what's necessary. Okay.
James White got really into the game last week.
The point I was going to make was the same thing, because what they do is you'll see a game plan where James White only needs to catch 2 balls out of the backfield.
Right.
And then the next game he may have to catch 8.
Right, exactly.
Okay? Because, for whatever defenses they're throwing at them, they decide. And again, perfect example, they were behind against Cincinnati, went into the locker room, made the adjustments, came out, whole new different team.
And that's
Whole new
always
different
been the MO for the Pats. Halftime, if they're down, it's a totally different team in the second half. But you got to be ecstatic when you're looking at these 2 tight ends.
Oh.
Bennett and Gronkowski. Who do you cover?
They're 2 big boys.
And
tell you.
what linebacker
and from what I hear, there's a big bro fest with them. These guys love each other. They're talking about how one guy's, you're
and let's face it,
Bennett's
he's going full. This is last year's contract.
Yeah.
He's in for a big payday next
Yeah.
year. So he's going to be full bore.
Yeah.
But just like Edelman, he caught a couple balls. The game before, he was really busy. Then you get Hogan in there.
Well, here's the thing.
They're using everybody, Ronnie.
Here's the thing. Edelman's still banged up a little bit, okay? And so what's happening is just like Gronkowski, they were easing him in just a little bit towards the games, catch here, couple of catches next game. Now I'm healthy, bang. Now that's the same thing that's going to happen with Edelman. You're going to see Edelman. There's going to be a game where Edelman's going to catch 10 or 11 passes, okay?
Right, yeah.
And probably the next 2 games you'll see him. He'll lead the team in receptions,
Right.
okay? Right now he's out there because he's healthy enough to be out there, but not healthy enough where he can be the Edelman that you know.
Right.
So Hogan, again, is another guy where they is stepping up because Edelman can't play that role.
And you get this kid Mitchell, who's going to he's going to come as the year progresses, and Brady starts seeing with this kid. You got 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends that you can go to at any time.
Yeah.
Versatile backs. Your offensive line has got to stay healthy. Last week, Brady had sacked him once, I think.
Might have been once or twice.
But he had plenty of time to throw.
Yeah.
And if you give Tom Brady,
especially in the second half.
You give Brady time to throw, lights out.
All right, just real quick, Johnny. What I do want to mention in Drake-It, as you know, I've been doing the play-by-play for the Drake-It High School football team, and
not bad
last
too,
week,
Ronnie. I heard you.
not too bad.
You owe me $20 for saying.
That's all right. There's no 20.
20.
All right. So each week, what I want to do is I want to recognize one of the players or one of the athletes in Drake-It High School. And this week I've chosen David Choate of the Drake-It High School football team, the running back. He had 203 yards rushing in a 23-6 win over North Andover. Drake-It right now is 3-3, and they're playing Concord Carlisle this week, and probably in a must-win for them to go into the playoffs. Nobody would have believed at the beginning of the season the way Drake-It had started off. I think they started off 0-2 and then 1-3.
Right.
And they've won their last 2 games in pretty convincing fashion. And they're playing really well right now. So they're actually seeded 8th right now, and the top 8 teams do go to the playoff round. So Concord Carlisle is also 3-3. So it really is a must-win for both of those teams. So if Drake-It does win this week and goes to 4-3, they assure themselves that they'll be in the playoffs. So I want to send a special shout out to that team for Friday. It is their homecoming or senior night this week. So
we didn't get to delve into any Celtics or Bruins.
That's
which
all right.
We will next week.
We will.
The season's going to be
I
starting.
just thought, I really thought it was important for us to recognize the Red Sox and their contribution to our heartache and our.
They spoiled my summer.
They did spoil our summer. So again, it was great, Johnny, to our first show here. Our first show was.
We thank Drake-It
nice,
Access for the huge contract.
Yeah,
$217 million.
And coffee. We get coffee with it too.
We had to pay for the coffee.
So again, next week, same time, 7, 8 o'clock every week here on Drake-It Access, talking sports with Ronnie and Johnny. And again, you can reach us on the calling us at 978. And it just went away on me, so I don't know what it is. But you call Drake-It Access TV, and you can come and join us every week. Live show, 7 to 8. We'll talk, pretty much national sports. We'll talk local sports. And again, if you want to call us, call in and comment on whatever it is that you want to comment about. We're more than happy to take your call. So, again, Johnny, great to be back again.
You too, Ronnie.
Great to talk to you again. Yeah, you have a great week. And we'll see everybody again next week.